All right, we're gonna have to have somebody check their phone. Still spinning.
Almost next. No, it's a week before school starts. We new guy in the office. I'm too busy doing other stuff. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right, can anybody hear us?
I threw one from there, 75 a pound. I love it. Buck City, I fucking even. Yeah.
Yeah, that's our whole experience.
It was little and there was nuts.
Yeah. I really like reading is that and see the voice or next company. And I say it every once in a while.
Okay.
These are the bus for the first time.
Lady of leisure now.
Oh, I didn't do that.
Yeah, that happened.
Here's my kids in my God. But.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good working now. I just want. This. Oh, I have. Let's stand and join in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to lead us in prayer, please. Here, join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you again for your blessings in our life. We thank you for your presence in our life, and we just ask that we would have your wisdom and direction as we discuss business for our community and help us to make choices that benefit all. We pray all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, we're gathered here with county as well to discuss us. Well, just an initial discussion. Jeff, would you like to start?
Sure.
Thank you all. Jeff Peters, financial advisor to the city. Little bit of a background and overview. You know, the legislature has made significant changes in the last 2 years to both property tax and income tax. The changes that they've made to income tax, they would like counties, cities, and towns to gather, discuss about what would be potential income tax solutions based on what they've done. All that sounds good. I think we should have the discussion. However, one of the key pieces of information that is missing today that would potentially allow us to give you some mathematical guidance as to a decision you might settle on is missing, won't be addressed by the legislature until next year at minimum. The piece that's really missing that the chairman of Ways and Means, Representative Thompson, he has said that he believes he has the votes. He envisions that each unit of government will have a fixed property tax rate. And the sum of all those rates together will be $3. So how much is going to be allocated to a county, to a city or a town, to a school, to a library, to a special district, etc., to divvy up this $3? that is unknown. The only thing that the legislature has kind of coalesced around in the last two sessions is fire and EMS, because they've had a whole onslaught of fire territories and fire districts being formed. And they have said that they want that property tax rate to be capped at 40 cents of that $3. However, when I ask him the question, okay, well, we have cities and towns and other units of government that provide fire, or just provide EMS, or provide neither. How are you dividing up fire and EMS between that 40 cents? Is it 20/20? Is it 30/10? Don't know yet. And you know, that falls into cities and towns too. So I assume the rate for a city or town that provides fire and EMS, which you guys pseudo do through contractual payments, but you don't have your own municipal fire department, which is another component that's listed in the statute. You know, how much credit are you going to get because you do contractual payments for fire and EMS versus normal city services? That being said, because we don't know what your rate cap is, or the county or anybody else, we don't know what your loss is based on this legislation. Now, the stuff that they passed in 2025 started to implement and pay 2026, but it goes all the way through 2031. It's an incremental decrease in taxable assessed value for 1% property. It's going to go from its value today down to a third of its value. 2% property is going to go from its value today down to 2/3. And then they also made some adjustments for 3% commercial property based on personal property. We've modeled those things, and other agencies and other advisors have modeled those. So we have some idea of what we think that might be. But again, the thing we don't know is what is going to be your tax rate cap. Therefore, we can't really forecast or project what we believe your loss is. I think the position that you'll want to take as a city, and the county will want to take, and the other units of government, is you want to be made whole in income tax, everything that you're losing in the old income tax, plus the 25 legislation, plus the loss that you're likely to incur or may incur based on this new legislation that we're not going to see until 27 at the earliest. I did meet with Representative Thompson a few months back in his office. Again, tried to press him on giving us some idea about those rates. Would not provide them, but did say in January there will be a piece of legislation that has all those rates, but this will just be their first stab at rates for discussion. I would assume late in the session, maybe we'll have a better idea. But, you know, if they can't come to an agreement on how you divvy up that $3, then maybe they kick it to 28. Because the timetable you're under today is the new income tax rates will not be established until between July 1 of 28 and October 1 of 28. And that will all be at the county. The county council will sit and make that determination, but they can't make it before July 1 of 28. So you've got two legislative sessions and almost 2 years from now before you have to make that decision. But again, my advice to you is ask for a conceptual fix, which is total replacement of all your estimated losses, including the legislation you haven't seen yet. But don't settle on any amount that, hey, based on the formula and the way it's written today, we want a rate of 0.85 allocated in this way. Because the other thing is, in those next two legislative sessions, we saw huge changes in allocation models between the 25 legislation and the 26 legislation. So I would assume you'll see big swings in allocation models in 27 and 28 potentially as well. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that I might be able to flesh something out more for you. There's a lot going on.
A lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
property values went up again in 26. Nobody's property taxes went down, so I don't think there was a loss, a true net loss in 26. Am I correct or not?
The assessed value went up. The total up is, I think it was 4.8, 4.9. Inside the cities.
Oh,
The cities went up about 4.9, but the maximum levy rose 6%. So your tax rate is still going up. And as your tax rate still continues to go up because the assessed value is lower than it would have been, but for their 25 legislation.
Right.
So as the rate goes up, more of your properties hit those 1%, 2%, and 3% tax caps.
Right.
So you net collect less property tax dollars. So I would anticipate that in 27, your net collection of property tax will go down further. So you're going to suffer some loss there.
Yeah.
But you're right. People's taxes, everything
Right.
went up. I looked at the assessed values just grossly in 1%, 2%, and 3% inside the city. 1% I think went up 8%, 2% was like 15%,
Yeah.
3% is 20%. So, which is really a good sign because the faster you have either real growth or appreciated growth, the less impact you'll have with this legislation as it goes out
Right.
as a unit of government. Now, as taxpayers, if it's appreciated growth and not true growth, and you're not getting more people and you're just paying a bigger share, then you're paying more taxes.
You said something about a fixed property. What was that?
Your maximum property tax levy is a statutory formula that dates back to the 70s.
Okay.
So it's last year's multiplied by the average growth of non-farm income across the last 6 years, sometimes modified by the legislature. The last couple of years, they had capped it at 4%. For 27, it's 6%. Don't know if they'll let the natural formula take over or they'll cap it going forward. But that's a finite dollar amount. So if you have less assessed value and a growing maximum levy based on that statutory formula, you're going to continue to have a higher rate, which is going to produce more of these circuit breaker losses because you'll have more properties that hit the 1%, 2%, and 3% tax caps.
Think property taxes go away?
I've heard it more in environments like this about, what happens if we do that. The legislature wants to push, obviously, away from property tax onto income tax. But I can't imagine them going all the way to nothing. Because if you do that, then none of your commercial property shares in the expenses of the unit of government. Because they're not paying income tax. It's just people who live here each January 1 are paying that income tax. So the only way to get commercial businesses, factories, things like that to pay a share of that is property tax.
Okay. There's money.
Yeah, maybe it'll clear up in the next 2 years. At least you'll have more mud to dig through.
Right? Yeah.
It's deep.
Yeah.
It's just a continuous rabbit hole, I think,
And what I think, from this meeting, I'm hopeful that, other units of government will get up and kind of share with you their thoughts as well. And I think that's what you should do as well when the county holds their must meeting on September the 8th. Share with them what your thoughts are. You have done a great job as a fiscal body of being good stewards of your money, what you've spent it on, what you've saved it for future unknowns. And I think you want to be able to continue that. And in order to continue on the path you were on, you just need a replacement of income for all your income and property that you're losing. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Have anything to add to that?
See if they have anything out there, I guess.
Yeah. Would you like to speak on behalf of the county?
I
Anybody?
would. I would love an opportunity.
Sure.
Mind if I just sit?
Yeah.
I'm boisterous enough, I think.
That's fine. That's fine.
Just a couple things. I agree with what Mr. Peters said as well. I talked to Representative Thompson and Snow as well. Throw spaghetti against the wall and see what's going to happen. When you talk to Randy Maxwell and Garrett Bascom,
Sure.
they're just as fuzzy as anybody else in the legislature. They think they know where they're going to head. And property taxes are certainly going to be a challenge, shifting from property to income tax. Now, the county, we did have a loss of property tax, estimated about 82,000, which was considerably down. I think Dr. Roeder published an email or a text last year when this came out. It was about $750,000, and we were about $360,000 the county was going to lose because of SEA 1. We're not anymore, but it's down to about 82,000 we're going to lose estimated taxes. But as a county, we still haven't had our meeting yet. We'll meet Monday to figure out whether we want to be revenue neutral when it comes to income tax, if we want to recoup the losses, or if we want to put some in the bank. We still haven't made that strategy yet. I know that sounds kind of stupid, but I met with Ray just before we got here, and we have some other revenue streams that we're going to have to incorporate. And I think you guys are well aware of that. We have to incorporate, the county has to incorporate a will tax for next year. No way around it. We have to. So that's going to offset a little bit too. And the redistribution of money in the highway fund from restricted to unrestricted, or for restricted to unrestricted, helps us this year, probably for next year too. So I don't know what approach we're going to take when it comes to income taxes. I think our constituents are yelling at us, we're paying too much, whether it's property tax or income tax. I don't look for us to make a high lit tax to burden our constituents with a high burden tax rate. So, but that's just my opinion. We'll talk about it on Monday during our meeting. So,
All right, thanks.
So that would be not a full replacement then, in a sense. Or potentially not a full replacement. Maybe I misunderstood that.
well, I think your strategy was going to be different than our strategy. Like I said, we have a little different revenue streams coming in for next year with will tax and then the highway tax split. So our estimated losses is a little bit further down than what was forecasted. I don't think we have to get aggressive. I don't believe so, but I got 6 other members, so we all need to talk about, figure out what strategy we do need to take. So just as an example, I showed Miss Gibson the model. Ours came from, I forget who the AIC got
Yeah.
help with their model, but an analytical portal or some.
Policy analytics.
Thank you very much. And we're currently about 2% tax rate throughout the county. That includes PSP and fire and EMS at 0.2. And I think we were able to give fire and EMS a little bit more, the city a little bit more, all of our townships a little bit more. Debbie and I looked at it, spent half an hour, 45 minutes up at conference. Kelly and I have spent numerous hours on it, even today, talking to AIC. We feel we can get below the 2% that we're currently at and still make everybody happy and bring in money. So, but we need to understand your financial situation as well. So,
Sure.
but I think it's in the ballpark. From the estimates from Analytic tells us how much lit you guys actually get from the county. There'd be no problem getting that much and more.
Well, and again, today, yes,
Yeah,
but you don't know what your
Right.
cap is.
we agree. We
Yeah.
totally agree.
And yeah, that eroding of assessed value through 2031 will drive up those rates. And I shared with Ray earlier, I have one client that I have looked at the 40-cent rate for fire and EMS, and it's a big fire department. It's like $25 million a year. To limit them to a 40-cent tax rate is going to cut about $9.5 million a year out of their load. Again, if you have a lot of growth going forward through 2031, it will make it a lot less. But I really think until they give you that number and policy analytics runs that through the model. I don't know that you're gonna know what your loss is. Even when you set these rates in the middle of 28, you're still betting on data that you don't know through 2031. Now, policy analytics is really good for that model. I think they're working really hard on it. And I think it'll get you close, but, yeah,
I mean, we're currently at 0.2 funding our fire departments, both volunteer fire departments. So, I mean, we're pretty blessed. We got some room there. And history said we maintained 59 to 6,000 people in the county for the last 150 years. So we feel pretty comfortable,
Yeah.
but who knows what's going to happen, sure.
I had a question for you, if you don't care, as many housetops as that the county has added over the last year or two, you still 82 below?
Yes.
That's amazing. Surprising.
Like Mr. Peters said, there was a shift, obviously, into the 1%, 2%, 3% that hit the circuit breakers. I guess we got hit pretty hard on some circuit breakers that caused an additional loss too that was unforecasted, but
Yeah.
there's probably gonna be more and more of that.
I thought ours was like 26. Maybe,
yeah, and most of that was the new SEA 1 homestead credits
yeah.
that hit you.
So we had some too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a shared thing.
What's the timeline of when we have to decide what we think we're gonna do compared to what legislature themselves are gonna wind up doing to give us information?
You're a victim of the county and the legislature. You're not gonna get the vote on any sort of income tax rate.
But in general then, what is their timeline for making a decision of how?
They can't make a decision before July 1 of 28.
Okay.
And all those should be implemented by October 1 of 28 so that you have adequate collection to begin distribution in January of 29.
If nothing changes in the legislation.
Yeah.
They're saying,
Exactly.
they're kicking that around,
Yeah.
so.
And they did kick it down a year, it was the middle of 27, it was supposed to happen, and now they've kicked that to 28, so could be they kick it another year as they sort through.
And we all could be retarded by then, who knows?
So in the meantime, what happens in terms of?
You just hang out in limbo and
when in terms of the revenue that's coming in?
well, when they kicked the can, they just left the normal revenue stream in place.
Okay.
And today, the normal revenue stream from income tax. You have suffered, like Ray talked about, some of these losses in property tax because of the SEA 1 homestead credits. You had those losses, which made you net collect fewer tax dollars than you would have. And when we were talking about the maximum levy going up faster than your assessed value going up is going to cause you to lose more circuit breaker in future years. So you're going to experience that loss over time, but your income tax is still growing, and it's growing under this old model, which should be that you can sustain and continue to go forward as you are. That's why I think, it's going to be vital when you get to that point of picking a new income tax structure, that it's going to be adequate to put you back in the position you're in today. Because, you worked for decades to put yourself in that position.
Anything else? Anyone else like to speak?
Can I add? So we don't have the revenue replacement ability with SEA 1. We were thinking it was gonna be 189. That's what we projected, but it's about 162 for us right now. So it's not as bad. My question is, I know that, I guess it's for the county. You guys are gonna be voting on a lit, and that is an income stream for the school system.
40%, right?
Yeah, so I didn't know if that was the plan of keeping that, because that's
I need to start planning now.
The first quarter percent's non-negotiable.
Okay,
Yeah, anybody who gets lit gets that first quarter percent from lit. Everybody who gets distribution gets it, and includes the school, so, I mean, it can go up from there, but it can't go down.
okay, all right, then we were missing.
But just through 28.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
That's it.
that's what I'm saying.
That's what it is.
28, it happened.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about from 28 on.
Yeah, you're, I believe, with just my understanding, I don't believe they have any intention of you guys getting income tax after 28.
I think that what we've been
The
told,
way it's written now.
what has been told to us is that the county has the option to do it.
Okay,
And you have to work with your county council to,
and is the option the one section in the 25 law that says they could reallocate
yes.
their money to anybody? Okay. Because I've asked legal counsel that question before, and I've had legal counsel tell me they don't think it applies to the school.
That's not what my ASBO is telling us.
Okay, good.
But it does come down to county making the decision in the 28, whether they're gonna continue to provide it to the school system or not. And for us, that's $120,000 revenue source.
It is.
And by then, we'll be cut around, if that trend continues, counting at about $800,000. I've cut $1 million out of my budget in 2 years. I can't do another $800,000. I'm just telling you guys, at some point, it's getting dire for schools. The average referendums in the state of Indiana since they were allowed in 2012 was 6. There's over 40 this year in the state. We're not one of them, but there's over 40 referendums right now. And there was talks of about 80. So like what's happening in the schools is crazy.
So has IASBO said anything about the new school funding formula? Because they do that every long session, correct?
It was every 2 years.
So 27 will be a revision to the school funding formula. Are they potentially going to offset some of your income tax loss with school funding?
They don't look at anything with income tax, and we never know anything about school runs. That's what they call it for us, until February, March. So they kind of wait for the revenue forecast to come out, early spring, winter, and then at that point, they just decide how much money they can allocate to schools.
Okay, but potentially the legislature could make you whole with revisions to the school funding formula for the income tax they took away, correct?
They could in a roundabout way, but they fund us based on per student.
Right.
So it's not like our lit right now, we have the potential to put in our education fund or operations fund. All of our cuts are in our operations fund right now. The state funds us per student into our education fund. So that's an automatic cost to our operations fund without even, because we use all of our lit money into our operations fund. For example, we in 2028, our operations fund will be less than it was in 2006. And that's what pays for utilities, buses, utility buses, property casualty insurance, and a few staff members. So we'll be under $1 million by then. So that's why we bought one bus in 3 years, and we're not buying any more for at least 3 years. So there's already 2 or 3 schools that are not providing bus service to their families. It's coming. So
The one statute we were talking about in the 25 legislation, it's section 142, if you want to go look at it. And it talks about any unit basically that receives an income tax distribution can reallocate theirs via resolution or ordinance to another, and it calls it governmental entity. I don't know where that's defined elsewhere in the statute, but yeah, if IASBO thinks that applies to schools, then, I think that's great, and that's a potential solution for that. And again, it comes down to how the county is going to divvy up. As the councilman said, your rate today is 2%. Under the new legislation, it can go to 2.9. So there should be a lot of ability in there to right side or right size everyone, all the units of government. It'll just be kind of how you do it most efficiently and get everything covered.
Sometimes.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see how the contract services works out for EMT and the fire.
Mhm.
It's a shame we don't have a little more guidance on that too. So, I mean, we plug a lot of support there.
Well, we've got, like, the interlocal would be 885. That's contractual.
That's your contractual payment to the county for police,
Yeah.
but you also make
Yeah,
payments to fire
fire
and
and
EMS.
EMS. 40 to EMS, 30
And in that,
fire. plus
in the new
yeah,
lit statute, they address fire and EMS. They don't address police, so
Right.
that doesn't like your public safety lit that you have today.
Right,
This is fire and EMS only, and then it has mandatory people that get a distribution from that. And the county has to consider population and service area. That doesn't mean they have to distribute it that way. They just have to consider it, and they get to determine what that allocation method looks like. So, yeah, and the way the statute reads is the required recipients are fire districts, fire territories, municipal fire departments, township fire departments that have full-time staff that respond to more than 50% of their fire runs. But municipal fire department, to me, would be if you had employees and you were running fire or fire and EMS out of the city of Rising Sun. Are those departments just 501(c)s?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know about the EMS, what
I don't know
about
what EMS is with personal added.
the fire?
Okay, so they're just funded contractually, contributions from you, and I assume contributions from the county?
They have EMS, or they have a lit.
Right, you have the lit, but you collect that, but you send it to them, correct?
Correct, but we don't contribute anything above and beyond that, from the
Okay,
county's perspective,
And if-
yet,
is that a contract for service and you're funding it with lit?
yet. I was approached, I spent time over there today with, or excuse me, Monday with 911 in the fire department. And the contract for services is coming.
Okay.
You currently don't have it with EMS. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
With EMS.
Um,
And did
So,
we say
don't
that
think you're-
EMS is a 501(c)(3)? Did I get that?
501(c) something. Yeah.
Yep.
They're for profit.
They're for
Somebody
profit,
said-
Profit.
Somebody said for profit.
but they're not,
They are.
they're not they're not a part of the county,
Yeah, I don't think either fire or EMS.
are an
part of the county.
entity of the county.
And you don't have a municipal fire department.
Mhm.
So I think the way that statute is written, you're not a mandatory recipient of the fire and EMS. Again, I don't think that matters if the county is going to levy a certain amount and they can go up to 0.4 fire and EMS. Do you have other fire departments in the county?
No, Bear Branch,
One.
but we,
So just one more and only one EMS provider? Yes. Okay. So, however the county collects that money, they can divvy up that distribution formula. I would assume to cover whatever it is you need for fire and EMS.
in the
And like
fire
you're saying
department,
Today, it's 0.2
Mhm.
that you do for EMS. And, that amount can go up to 0.4 under the new lit legislation, way it's written today.
and the fire department budget that we have would continue.
Well, that depends, if you look at.
That's what I'm
budget,
saying.
you might want to fund it through income tax than you not. And
Right.
again, these would be those trade-offs where we have all these conversations about if your expense goes down, then your lit can go down, you'd still be dollar for dollar the same.
Right.
So it just depends on how you want to get everybody funded and what that matrix looks like.
Anybody else?
The eighth,
You
at 6 p.m.
mind if I stop in too?
No,
No.
no, there should be 4 of us then.
At least.
September 4th at what time?
Eighth.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock?
Yes.
Anybody have anything else to share?
We did publish our budget today.
It's good.
So
All right, if there's nothing else for the good of the order, let's have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Todd to adjourn the meeting. Second by Brett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
All right. Grass.
Yeah.
Spend many hours, unfortunately.
You guys don't provide any dollars to the EMS, right?
yeah,
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
PSAP agreement. It's I've
Okay.
got it. If you remind me, I can get you guys a copy of it.
We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
It's funny. I walked in there to talk to him,